One of the most interesting things about researching gaming history is the deep rabbit holes I tend to end up going down when looking for information regarding the videos I'm working on. Often when trying to learn everything there is available online about one particular game, I will end up learning about lots of other obscure titles that previously I wasn't even aware existed. A prime example of this process has taken place over the last couple of weeks, when I took it upon myself to learn more about the weird adult Japan-only fighting game known as Street Fighter 2. This smutty, all-female fighter that heavily parodies Street Fighter 2 would actually turn out to be one of many games that fit into this bizarre shady subgenre, including the likes of the Karate Bikini Babe series, which we began to examine last week. When it comes to these controversial titles, my search has led me to the existence of a game that has a reputation so poor that it makes the former titles that I covered look like all-time greats in comparison. With that said, it's time to reach down into the depths of hell so we can see what all the fuss is about. So, without further ado, hello ladies and gentlemen, Big Daddy Top Hat here. This is the story of CatFight, a game that, according to one publication at least, was the most sexist game ever created. Yeah. Ah yes, the mid-90s. Time marked the style of content that certainly had a particular flavour to it. The likes of Jerry Springer in the United States and Eurotrash in my country would successfully capture the zeitgeist of this hilariously tasteless era. When we consider the profane content that was available on television at the time, then why should we have expected the world of video games to have been any different? Well, quite frankly, it wasn't, with games like the Mortal Kombat series becoming the subject of a series of major controversies and even court cases. The outrage generated would lead to the introduction of the Entertainment Software Rating Board, but all this publicity would just increase the game's sales. According to Superdata Research CEO Joost van Drunen, because of the obvious rift between gamers on the one hand and adult society on the other, Mortal Kombat set the tone for what constituted gamer culture. So with a perceived audience apparently existing who craved violence and more adult orientated content, a number of Mortal Kombat copycats would emerge, with developers looking to capitalise on this trend. As discussed earlier in the video, we have already looked at the likes of Karate Bikini Babes, a fighting game that also utilised digitised actresses, but didn't hit the market until 2002. Believe it or not, 6 years before this title existed, another video game had been created that also attempted to combine smut, fighting and digitised madness, the infamous CatFight, a game that would be boldly marketed as the ultimate female fighting game. However, as you can probably see from the gameplay present right now, ultimate certainly could not have meant the best in this one's case. The ultimate in terrible fighting games is definitely more apt in this instance, which raises the next question: who was behind this craziness in the first place? This 1996 PC game was developed by a studio known as Phantom Card, but more interestingly, it was published by a company known as Atlantean Interactive, who were apparently a front for Vivid Entertainment. Yes, that Vivid Entertainment, one of a handful of studios that dominate the United States naughty video production sector. Thankfully, through the internet magic of the Wayback Machine, we can still access the Atlantean website, with them claiming on the site that they are proud to bring to us a selection of distinguished CD-ROM games for your PC or Mac that are sure to hold your interest for hours on end, with links to information of titles such as Island of Peril to Lords of Tantras and more. But most importantly in this case, let's see what they have to say about CatFight. The page states, join 11 of the fiercest female warriors from across the ethers as they battle it out for the ultimate power of the universe. Watch the head-to-head fighting assault blaze its way to your screen, with the hottest women in games engaging in the most violent fighting techniques imaginable. Some of the things you must endure are disembowelment, decapitation and worse. It's the ultimate life versus death struggle where you must pulverise your opponent in 8 awesome arenas to survive. Here is your chance to claim your place next to the most awesome women in the galaxy. For those brave souls out there who have enough testicular fortitude to power this game on, prospective players are first exposed to the crude Atlantean Interactive Games logo, which I must say looks god tier in comparison to the abomination that is the Phantom card logo. It looks like something created and proudly printed out by a computer skillless primary school teacher and stuck on the classroom wall in 1996, so we are off to the worst start possible here. Moving past the ghastly menu, we are introduced to something far more interesting. CatFight's intriguing roster select screen. I mean, just look at some of these women. Mortal Kombat, eat your heart out. I have to learn more. After choosing fighters, it's all downhill from this moment, as players journey down into the depths of gaming hell, experiencing one of the worst fighting games in all of existence. I guess we won't be seeing this one played competitively at EVO anytime soon. This embarrassingly choppy game with an unresponsive control system is dreadful in almost every conceivable way possible, with little reason for us to celebrate this video game beyond its pure absurdity. Everything about this one screams amateur and, well, rubbish. The game seems to have had 2 development goals in mind, the first of them clearly being to emulate Mortal Kombat, which is illustrative through the choice of graphical style, some of the costumes, and heavy use of blood with many of the game's animations. And when I say animations, I am using the phrase in the loosest possible sense. The second goal, especially when we take who was behind this game into question, I would imagine would have been to make a video game that was gratifying, if you know what I mean. But shamefully, the team appear to have fouled on that front too. The ugly, digitised graphics are a far cry from being even remotely attractive for players, meaning that no matter how hard gamers waggle their joysticks when playing this one, the title is unlikely to generate the primal desired response that the devs would have intended with this one. Ooh. Karate bikini babes would pick up where CatFight failed a few years later. Other amusing factoids regarding this game is that it was apparently falsely advertised as the first all-female fighting game. Information that, as you know for sure, is a massive fat lie in itself, as the likes of Street Fighter 2 had already been in existence for a few years, and this was just another game programmed for the same subgenre. Speaking of linking this one to other games, it does hide one particular cool Easter egg, in that the female ninja in the game, known as Che Li, is portrayed by the very same martial arts actress in this digitised game as that of Kitana, Melina and Jade from Mortal Kombat 2. In this instance, they are all played by Catalin Zamaya, a lady who owned a fitness club whereby Mortal Kombat creators Ed Boon and John Tobias trained. Her younger brother Alex, who happened to be a huge Mortal Kombat fan, would approach the 2 gentlemen about putting his sister in the game. While on this tangent, she would also be digitised to appear in multiple unreleased fighting games, such as The Realm Fighters, which was intended to show up on the Atari Jaguar, and Chi Yong, which was meant to come out on the Sony PlayStation. Despite its ridiculously low quality, unfortunately no one seems to have been smart enough to have shelved CatFight, so this blotch on gaming history remains in existence to this day. Unsurprisingly, the press who would be exposed to this game over the years have been far from impressed with what they have discovered. Game Rankings, for example, rates the game just 8.67%, with their score being accumulated from 3 different magazine publications. Thankfully, the Wayback Machine grants us access to one of these to laugh at, with CD Mag awarding the game 0 out of 5 stars, with their review simply describing the game as Mortal Kombat minus any male fighters and gameplay, and the fun. The review heavily mocks the game's AI and difficulty levels, describing 2 settings to choose from: Brain Dead, where the computer doesn't fight back at all, and Butt Kicker, where the computer appears to be incredibly good, until you realise that 1, the response time for your controls is pathetic, and 2, all you have to do is stay in a crouch and kick repeatedly position to defeat your opponents with ease. The bemused reviewer in 1996 would summarise his thoughts stating, "CatFight enters entirely new realms of badness. Aside from the control problems, you have bad gameplay, bad animation, bad looking characters, bad background graphics, bad background music and bad sound effects, which makes for a pretty bad game." GameSpot would review this one too, giving it 1.6 out of 10, calling it without a doubt the worst computer game ever released. Adding the worst thing about CatFight, and believe me, that's a hefty accomplishment, is that the gameplay is just so damn bad. I'll sleep easier knowing there will never be a CatFight 2. Adding to all of this, retrospectively in 2010, PC Gamer ranked CatFight as the 7th worst game ever made, describing it as so bad that being caught mass into it would actually be less embarrassing than being caught playing it. Earlier in this video, I said that one publication back in the day referred to this game as the most sexist game ever created. This was the Daily Pennsylvanian, a student-run non-profit daily newspaper. In an extensive article explaining how the writer believed networking is redefining the standards of PC gaming, the piece covers how fun it is to play the Doom games with friends. The writer later goes on to begin praising the high quality of the gameplay that can be found within Duke Nukem, describing it as having the best weapons for multiplayer, some truly intriguing levels, and a lot of nifty options. This praise though soon degenerates into criticism, deriding the title as the 3rd most sexist game that has ever been created, with them going on to clarify that they believe Virtual Valerie 2 is the 2nd most sexist game, with, you guessed it, CatFight being their perceived most sexist game ever made. Now, to be completely transparent with you, despite this title being a truly awful fighting game that poorly tried to cash in on the success of Mortal Kombat, as terrible as this one was, I can't really see how it can be seen as any more sexist than many other products of that time. The game was certainly designed to titillate and appeal to the male gaze, but let's be honest, the people behind this one even failed on that front. In this day and age, many people claim that scantily clad women are empowering to the gender, not sexist, with 99% of women with OnlyFans accounts, for example, peddling this exact narrative. So keeping this in mind, let me know in the comment section what you think regarding this topic, and which game does deserve the accolade of being referred to as the most sexist game ever created. Also, check out my video on karate bikini babes now. Cheerio.